Let's go.
Welcome to the Trusted Leader Show. I'm your host, David Horsager. Join me as I sit down with influential leaders from around the world to discuss why leaders and organizations fail, top tactics for high performance, and how you can become an even more trusted leader.
Today's show is sponsored by Sourcewell.
Welcome to the Trusted Leader Show. It's David Horsager, and we are in for a treat today. My dear friend, Elizabeth Sarquis, is on the show today. Her brilliant and amazing partner in work happens to be her son out of Williams College. He's the technical genius. He cares about economics and about the future of the world, and it's a treat to have both of you on today.
Thank you, David.
Awesome to be with you, David.
Thank you. And you know what? It's first time for this show. We've had two people on at once. So it's a treat. But I got to tell you about Elizabeth because she, when I met her, we were part of a mastermind group together, but she lights up a room. More than that, she started the Global Gaming Initiative and Jukko. We're going to talk about those. I thought a few other things that are interesting. Global Gaming Initiative has repeatedly made the BCorp Best for the World list. She has the Ellis Island Medal of Honor, the highest award ever given for first-generation immigrants. A whole lot of other things. She cares about really social good, and she cares about health and life, and she is a trusted leader. And as a team, wow. So Alejandro and Elizabeth, thank you so much for being on the show. Let's get to it. Each of you, take a minute or two. Tell us, what do we need to know about you?
When I started my career, I really had a singular focus, and that was always at looking at how I could make the world better, specifically for kids. So what you need to know about me is I'm a mother first. My faith is critically important to me, and so is my family. And everything that I do has that very singular focus. It's like, what's the perspective of how we're going to impact children?
Amazing. Yeah. And yet you've done all these things you've done. That's been the focus. You've been a judge on the elevator pitch show from entrepreneur.com. You do all these things, helping people understand how do you build a business? How do you make change through business and through your nonprofit initiatives? Let's jump over to you, Alejandro. And how do you work together? But who are you and how do you work together in this work?
Well, in terms of how I got into my career of path and all the things that are going on, it actually started in a car. I was driving to the Albany train station. I was in college at the time, and it was snowing. It was cold. It was dark. It was a one-way each way kind of highway, and I hit a deer. Totaled my car. I was totally fine, thanks to the powers above. But what I was on my way to go interview for was a banking job. So I was there for getting a summer internship type of interview. And that moment, it was a sign that hey, this is probably not the path for me. The path for me is more in alignment with what I can do and my skills of bringing people together, being really, really able to organize teams, create efficiencies, all, of course, trying to do as much as we can to leave this place better than we found it. And so, for all things technology that we do and branding and marketing and really just helping entrepreneurs take a good idea and really first assess the idea, assess the market, all of that important preliminary work, and then executing on it and helping these awesome companies and people behind them flourish.
You're doing amazing work. I've seen some of it. You got to be proud as a friend and mom, Elizabeth. But was this before or after being a principal scientist with the lithium battery research group? I mean, what's going on? We've got this William College grad in economics with all that brilliance, and you got this technological brilliance, and you were on a lithium battery research group. I mean, this is quite a ride we're on here today, and I knew it would be.
Yeah, I mean, the funny thing about that was it happened to be the hottest summer ever in Minnesota for about a week and a half. And so literally the entire office was like 100 degrees because it was like 115 degree real field temperature because they had to keep the dry rooms cold. So we were just sweating buckets.
Oh, man. Let's jump into this. We're going to talk about leadership. We're going to talk about life, but I want to know a little bit. Elizabeth, let's start with you on Global Gaming Initiative, because everything you've done has been about social impact and changing the world for good. But, this Global Gaming Initiative, we all watch The Social Dilemma. We've got parents and friends saying, well, gaming is bad and you can't make good out of technology and in some ways for kids. And yet you've taken a different approach.
Yeah. So Global Gaming Initiative has really organically grown into being something very different from its birth. When, our first product that we ever released was strictly about getting bicycles in the hands of kids so they could get to school. So we've gone from that to being the leaders in the games for good space. And what I mean when I say that is people reach out to us and ask us, hey, I want to do something good. I want to make this, product, whether it's a game or an app or even, it could be apparel, all sorts of things. And how do I do that? And it's really fun because, I don't want them to waste time. I want to transfer my knowledge as best I can, because when I started, I didn't have a playbook. I had no playbook. I was one of few women in the industry. And it was like literally the wild, wild west.
Oh, just tell us about a product today. How are you helping someone go from idea to something that's helping change the world for good in some way through the Global Gaming Initiative?
Yeah. Okay. So I can't really disclose the specifics because it's, still, intellectual property. And I can't share the details of the project, but we're working with a school, a librarian who's a CEO, who's also developing a digital citizenship game. How cool is that for grades 2 through 6? They have some amazing art already. So when she first reached out to me, she was like, hey, do you think you can help me? Because I don't know how to do the development side of this. I have this whole idea. So we start with conversations and I assess what is your goal? To really align, to see if we have the same alignment, because one of the worst things you can do in this space is have someone think that you can just transfer whatever they have in their mind or on print into digital, and the mechanics, or even for them to think that they know how the mechanics are going to work, because they're not experts in that area. They can tell me their dream, they can tell us their goals. But then it's up to the developers and designers and our teams to really look at it and say, hey, so I'm super pumped about that project because it's about kids. It's about doing, when you go down this road, there's a consequence. When you take this road, there's a different consequence. So it's about doing good actions. And I love that. And so the concern that parents have about video games or not even video games, social media, it's real. And it's so critically vital that we address and provide alternatives, right?
Absolutely.
So that's one of the projects that I'm really excited about because it's totally what I believe in.
Well, you're a purpose-driven duo. Tell us about Alejandro, tell us a part of it that you're loving right now, a part of this work that you're loving and passionate about right now.
Well, for me, it's from a bird's eye view, I get to wake up if I went to sleep, which I try to for health purposes, try to go to bed early now. But the point is, everything that I'm doing, everyone that I'm working with are people that I believe in through, many conversations. I never jump into working with a company or an entrepreneur until I've really gotten to know them. So I believe in them on a personal level. I believe in their business and business opportunity. And to a degree, they have to, of course, believe in it themselves. Of course, they need cheerleaders and champions. And I am a firm believer in skin in the game, helping the businesses when they're small, helping them as much as you can, give value without the standard kind of consulting or some other term you would associate with how you get compensated, and really just helping them achieve massive success because, that's what it's all about. So I just am so blessed that when I wake up, I always know I'm going to do what I love, helping people, using my skills, figuring stuff out as needed. And, I can rest easy at night.
Hey, it's Ann with the Trust Edge team here. As you know, we are passionate about helping you and your team perform at your best. And that's why David wrote his new book, Trusted Leader. This true-to-life parable follows the story of a CEO who uncovers the root issue threatening his organization's success. And in the back half of the book, David provides a roadmap for even how to solve those root issues. Get Trusted Leader for your team, your organization, or even just for yourself at trustedleaderbook.com.
How do you guys, this makes me think of, the pandemic, so many people had to pivot. You were already in technology. But how do you, especially I've known Elizabeth a lot longer, you've pivoted, you've changed, you've tweaked, you're always getting better. You're getting better at this, you're shifting this, you're changing that for the better so that you can have a more, better, greater impact. But what are you doing right now to innovate, or how have you even kind of created that mindset or culture of innovation in this kind of innovative space of technology, or, how do you keep doing that?
That's a loaded question. Yeah. So it's not about reproducing the same things. It's about where we go next. So if I were to tell you one of the businesses that we're working on right now, it has nothing to do with games and it doesn't have anything to do with mobile advertising. It's a product-based business that has everything to do with, PPE products. Has huge social impact.
But yeah, in terms of how we pivoted, and we've had to pivot a lot, especially with our ad tech business. Obviously we knew it going in as we built our own set of technology to support that kind of business. But it's a tough industry. It's just considering the market power and monopolization. And so, yeah, we had some low moments. We had to pivot a little bit. And, it's almost like you got to internalize as a entrepreneur, as a business person, as a person, hey, this is never a failure. And there's always more opportunities around the corner. But you have to tell yourself that this is a learning, and you have to be grateful for all the things you learned through that process that you can then take in a multitude of different directions.
This is fascinating. What's one thing, Alejandro? What's one thing you learned in the midst of the crisis? What's one thing you took away that you're gonna this is something I'm gonna do differently now because of something you learned?
I think the main thing for me is you got to ask for help, and you got to do it aggressively, but with love, of course, and with gratitude, and that comes across. But asking for help, the people that support you and that believe in you, they'll be there for you. And just not being shy about it. I think in earlier days of me starting these businesses with my mom, there were times where I was kind of shy to really go out and ask the questions to get the information, to get the guidance. And now it's hey,
not even close.
No, I was going to say, I remember last time we were, I think all together, all three, I think I was speaking at the the Rocky Mountain Economic Forum. And I know one thing you did, just to give, a lot of times I'm talking to leaders and they say they care about social impact and care about others and blah, 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 blah. Elizabeth cares, really cares. One of our dear friends had a brother that was in the hospital hours and hours away, and she left everything at the forum, jumped in the car with him, and rode hours to go see this friend that had an accident. I see it firsthand when I see you guys, not just in this missional way, not this mission, but people are living out. You're going to have a B Corp. You're going to have more scrutiny in business side, but also on the personal side. And, let's jump to this, Elizabeth. What's something you've learned in this kind of last year of crisis that you're taking forward?
You really treasure your friends. You really treasure your family. There's really, one of the things I heard in the very beginning of the pandemic is that the most important thing right now is to stay alive. You can't do anything if you're not, alive. And it's not just a physical thing, because there's a lot of mental health things that happen during this period of time. And I had to struggle a great deal with, bringing my mother from Colombia due to the pandemic. And it was very difficult. There was a lot of stress to become her primary caregiver. It taught me a lot because my mother has so many health issues, everything from dementia to orthopedic issues. And so, working with the government, the US Embassy to get her out was really hard. All of these things, and just you wouldn't believe what we had to do to get her into the country. And then I had friends that asking me, do I need a plane to go in there? And I'm like, you can't. The country shut down their airways. So for me, what I learned is, number one, you've really got to take care of the people that take care of you. And number two, you have to have faith that everything's going to turn out.
I love that. That faith piece that goes back to what many of you know, the Stockdale paradox of Admiral Stockdale, the highest ranking individual in the Vietnam War, and he's asked, what is it about the people that died here? And it's like, they were the optimists. Well, what is it about the people that made it? Well, they had two things, and it was a balance of two things. And it was, number one, they were willing to confront the brutal truth. There's really bad stuff happening. You and I saw people that said, oh, pandemic's nothing. Oh, this is nothing. They were willing to confront the brutal truth, but they had a paradox with long-term faith in the good to come ultimately. It wasn't short-term optimism of, we're going to be out in 2 months, and then they didn't make it out. It was a long-term faith balanced with a willingness to look at the brutal facts of the day. And I think that's some of what we're talking about. Mix that in with your care of the people close to you. And I think, by the way, that's something I saw great leaders do in this time. We saw bad leadership, and I walked with some leaders, CEOs and leaders that didn't do things very well and lost a whole lot of trust. And we walked with some that actually gained trust while they laid off 2,000 people because of their empathy and care for their people in the midst of the crisis over the last year or so. So I love that. When we talk about trusted leadership and all the work we're doing, we know there's people that are healthy at home or in life are healthier as leaders in many ways. Well, I know both of you care about physical, spiritual, and life health, and that has helped you be healthy leaders of many. And I want to get back into how you've led some of your teams, especially Elizabeth, right on that. But first of all, let's go to what routines do you have personally that help you be healthy so that you can lead well?
Okay, would you like to go first?
I'll start off with.
He's very routine oriented.
I'll start off with some fun ones. First off, and it sounds kind of lame, but having a water bottle that you'll actually drink the appropriate amount for the day, which I think for men is 11 to 15 cups. Obviously, the body weight slightly variant. For women, like 8 to 11, again, body weight dependent. But I got one of those water bottles that you see on TV for the NFL players on the sideline, like those squeezy Gatorade ones. I actually drink the water. So that's a huge, I feel so much more energetic. I feel like my cells are nourished. Huge little thing.
That's not a little thing. That's a huge thing. We're mostly made out of water. When I lost the 52 pounds, we talk about seeds here, SEEDS, and the D stands for drink water. Drink water. Yeah. Love it. Do you have another thing, something else, Alejandro?
I mean, I could go on for days. The next one is, I really like this because, it's like you don't always have time to cook. And sure, it's really important to learn how to make amazing food that takes 15 minutes to prepare. Very important skill, underrated. But alas, having a really good blender. And we've been doing for the last 6 months, you put in a bunch of frozen fruit. You put in a bunch of greens like spinach, kale, whatever you got. I mean, you can go hard, go broccoli, your seeds, your chia seeds, flax seeds, water, some cinnamon. I mean, you can dates if you want to sweeten it up. Huge, nice thing because you can just always just drink that and have that be food when the day is crazy and when you're running around, sometimes like a chicken with your head cut off, which is what happens.
I love it. All right, Elizabeth, let's hear a few of yours.
Okay, so for me, as soon as my feet touch the ground in the morning, I just am so grateful. I start my day when I can get that mindset of gratitude and prayer. For me, it's a very important way to start my day. I can move through the day much, much calmer. I feel like I have less stress when I do that. And then in the evening when, I always try to do a relaxing kind of routine. And for me, it involves multiple things like, playing some video games. Okay. You guys know I like video games. So I have certain ones that exhaust my brain, like ones that are puzzles and wordscapes and stuff like that, and games that tax me a little bit. And then I do like, some type of relaxing routine, whether it's baths, candles, whatever. But that's always the key. And for me, the other key that's really been important, and so it's kind of, I don't know if you guys do it, but it's the do not disturb on my phone. So I never used to take advantage of that. And then you would hear and you would see, like, I have a ridiculous number of emails and I'm not proud of it. I need to get them, eliminated from my inbox. But if you didn't have that on, you would hear the beep, beep, beep the whole night. Not only that, but calls and obviously WhatsApp and WeChat and all the other people that reach out from different technology platforms for me.
And for you from other parts of the world that who knows what hour of the night. Yeah.
Right. And they have different time zones. Yep. So that, and then I would say the last thing that's been very important for me is I got this Aura ring. Aura.
Oh, yeah.
And for sleep, for those of us who have the creative brain that doesn't shut off, having this kind of routine is really important because it reminds me, it says, hey, it's almost your ideal bedtime.
Yeah. Tell about the ring really quick, because my cousin who runs a company just got it, and he thought I had one on when I have this on. And
it looks like it.
Yeah, this is a rubber ring because I smashed my gold one, and then I had something. I was playing basketball with my son, and actually he jammed, or maybe I did, but the basketball jammed my finger, and actually that was a half a year ago, and it never did unswell all the way, so I couldn't get the ring on. I'm like, my assistant has her husband, and they got this for their wedding, and I'm like, this is silicone. It's $30.
And I know the company. I
love it because it's so comfortable. I don't want to go back to my gold one now. It's just it's in a jar. I'm not going to ever use it again. I told my wife, she knows I love her, and it's just, this is so comfortable. But he was talking about this ring, so we're not sponsored by them or anything, but just tell us what's an Aura ring do? Yeah,
so I was introduced to them a few years ago in Slush in a big tech conference in Helsinki. And basically what it does, and, I looked at it over time, but I wasn't ready to purchase it back then because I didn't know what it did. But during the pandemic, or a little bit before the pandemic started, I was like, oh, we should get these rings. So basically it's connected to an app and basically monitors everything about your sleep. It monitors your activity. It monitors your deep REM sleep. It tells you what time you're awake. It also has cool reminders about, this is your ideal time to go to sleep. And so it pings you and says, hey, you should be, preparing for your sleep. And now they've even updated some sleep stories. So think like Calm or something like that, which I'm not a fan of. For me personally, it doesn't help me. But the stories, they're like history of the moon or something. I was like, okay, I can listen to that and go to sleep. I want, because, I'm a constant learner. I think that's what leaders do. We as leaders, or as humans, we're curious and we need to learn all the time because that's how we grow.
Hey, it's Sam from the Trust Edge team. Most training and development initiatives don't last or even solve the root issue hindering your organization. That's where Trust Edge coaching certification comes in. Trust Edge coaches are equipped with a suite of tools to identify, benchmark, and close gaps in trust for good. Because when you solve the real issue, you get measurable results in a culture where people actually want to make an impact. So whether you're a coach with your own clients or a leader training people inside your organization, check out trustedgecoaching.com and see how you can start solving the root issue and get lasting results in your business. And now back to the show.
So tell me this, Elizabeth, we're both, actually, before I jump from this, I know you're also physically fit. So I want to just ask that question. What are you doing? In the midst of our busy schedules often, it's like, when am I going to get that done? I'm up in the morning, boom, and especially for you too, you might have had something come in from Kenya, and then you got an email that's got to go to Singapore, and then you got the people are awake at this time and dealing with that.
Yeah.
Right? So, we could be on all the time. I do have something where I wake up sometimes about 4 a.m. thinking about something, and I have my journal right next to my bed so I can just get that off my head right away and have it there in the morning. I don't jump to technology in the middle middle of the night. But sometimes, our minds are going. And I know the one thing for me is if I'm exercising, it makes all the difference with sleep and how I eat and everything else. But I know you do some things regularly. Tell about your physical fitness and how do you, I guess, one, kind of what do you do? And two, how do you fit it in? How do you make sure you do it?
It's not a choice, because if you, I like you find that if I don't do something every day, I can't sleep. So for me, whether it's a walk around a lake, or when I'm in Utah, obviously hiking, skiing, and all the cool sports that we love to do. We've just taken up snowshoeing. So Minnesota doesn't have very good mountains for skiing. So it was a little bit challenging in that way. So we have snowshoes now. And, last weekend we did like a 10-mile equivalent to a 10-mile snowshoe trek. And it's going, and I call it expeditions. So I make it fun. So what I say is like, we're going to go on an expedition and you're going to go outdoors, or sometimes we go to some, state parks. There's a lot of beautiful state parks in Minnesota that I didn't even know about prior to now. And I grew up here.
We say this all the time. You've got to find, in Minnesota, just like you can say there's really no bad weather, just bad clothing. You have the right clothing on, but it's the same with, if you don't find something in Minnesota to get you outside in the winter, to get you physical, people have problems. But so people know, you guys have a place out Silicon Slopes out in Utah. I love fly fishing and skiing. They're my two favorite things to do. So, I love being out in Utah. And then you're also in Minnesota. You're in Minnesota today. And
Columbia.
And Colombia. Yeah, you get
Cartagena, Colombia.
Sure, exactly. Sorry.
Where I wish I was right now.
That's right. So walking, hiking, snowshoeing, you got to find something you'll do. Alejandro, your body at your age can handle a little less discipline, and yet you're a disciplined guy, which is going to be good for when you put a few more years on that sleek, slim, healthy gentleman's body that you have. But what do you do fit wise?
Yeah, the main thing that I've been doing, and actually started right when the pandemic hit, just as something to do for a bunch of my older family members, is I do like a functional strength Zoom class. So we have like combination functional strength, and then things like Qigong, more breathing centric exercises. And like, I have not lifted any weights really in 9 months, and I'm still like equally as strong. Just from doing that. It's just like, working on the basics, doing squats, doing foot flexions and flexibility stuff, working your back, neck, obviously super important. Like just doing basically PT exercises, and still do it every day with like a bunch of different friends and family members of all ages, and just as a way for all of us to stay on top of things.
You got community, you got physical right there, but when do you do it? When, first thing in the morning, midday? How do you get it scheduled so you don't get impeded on?
Yeah, I prefer middle of the day for me, kind of like before lunch, just because like you don't really want to eat and then do some form of exercise. So like 1:30, 1 o'clock is like my preference, but obviously each of us has their own like body clock, and you just got to figure out what works and make it happen and block the calendar.
And that's when do you block the calendar for that?
It's just 1:30 to 2 every day.
Okay. Yeah, that's just it. It's just, hey, everybody, it's just 1:30 to 2. Come on now. Which, for those of us that still are working in offices, I mean, my next office space, I'm going to have a workout gym right there with a shower, because I would like it better middle of the day too. But it's not so, when we're at home or something, it's, it's one thing. So, all right, I'm going to shoot to the producer. Kent, what do you got for these guys?
Hey guys, so I was wondering, obviously you guys both work together closely on a lot of projects and stuff, and I was thinking, how do you kind of bridge that professional and personal relationship and being able to actually balance that well? Because I feel like there's a lot of people that like, maybe it's like a mom and pop shop, maybe they're hiring their, one of their kids, or like a family business, and I feel like I know people that like, that's really full of turmoil and a lot of stress and problems. So how do you kind of balance that so that you can still have be productive, professionally, but still obviously still have a good, solid relationship personally?
Do you want to answer that?
Sure, I'll start it off. I mean, we don't really have a dividing line or any like serious breaks like that in terms of separating the two buckets. Really what we have, and I'm grateful for it every day, is the highest level of internal trust between the two of us, trust and respect. We've all got stuff going on. We've all got our own sets of problems and anxieties and things we're obviously really good at or not so good at and all that stuff. And, for us, it's just emanates from that supreme level of trust, respect, and understanding. And so with that, we don't really ever have to like separate the two. We'll laugh about everything, like the work stuff together when, things are hitting the fan. And, that's really what I see and experience.
Yeah, I think for me, it's first of all, it was very unexpected that Alejandro and I would ever work together. So, in the beginning, I'm sure it seemed more of a like a hierarchical structure. That's gone. He's like completely my peer. So there isn't any of that kind of conflict. And also, I think we flow. And I don't know why we flow. I think, the underlying reasons must be obviously the preparation, the education, the experiences that we've had when we've started working together. And I just think that on a personal side, he has his personal life, I have my personal life. Sometimes we do things together, like the snowshoeing or expeditions, as I call them. Sometimes I do them with other people, or he does things with other people. And I think the most important reason why it works as well is that we're both very we're both very introverted in the sense that we need time to re-energize because we're so involved in our work, that it's really cool because we just respect each other's privacy. There's no boundary violation, which happens oftentimes.
Right. And I'm assuming you divide, responsibilities are clearly divided.
Yeah.
Because he does some things immensely well. You've got other parts you do immensely well. We talk about this a lot. The research says co-leadership is terrible. And I know you're co-CEOs, but co-leadership is terrible. Collaborative leadership is excellent. People that try to they have to have different responsibilities. Otherwise, which makes collaborative leadership. But if you have two people that are on the same thing all the time, that doesn't work. So the divisions are critical.
Absolutely. I would not want to do 3/4 of the things that he's brilliant at.
Yeah. So, Elizabeth, I want to ask you a question because you're working with. I've seen how warm you are in person, and yet I've seen your strength as a leader, and it's this beautiful mix of you're strong, and you're wise, and you're also warm. And how do you lead this team internationally? I mean, a lot of our listeners are like, they've got remote leaders. You've got to deal with those. They're in charge of digital marketing. You kind of have a spread out team, especially if you talk about your other company that you have, Jukko. And how do you actually manage this team all over the place virtually? How do you lead them?
Yeah, I mean, you got to show up. You can't be a distant leader. And I think that one of the things that I've learned is over the course of time, and specifically working with remote teams, from the first time I started building a mobile game with a team in Berlin, you have to show up, meaning you have to be involved in the product and the project the whole way through. You have to be on the ground. And, right now, obviously it's all virtual, but that works out perfectly anyways, specifically when you have teams at different parts of the world. But you have to show up. You can't be so above the meeting times and pulling the projects forward that you are absent. So I think that's what's real. And I think the passion and the championing and just things that for me are innate. I would say they're innate in my leadership style. And maybe sometimes I'm too forgiving. But I think the most important thing I've learned as a leader as well is to trust my gut right away. Because sometimes you can give teams, when you're not working with them in person and you can't see what's happening, you can allow too much time to pass and some deadlines to not be met. But when you trust yourself and you know that has to stop, that's what I've learned. I'm really good at it now.
So how are you holding a team, let's say in, I don't know where, but let's say a digital marketing team in Berlin. How are you you're not going there anymore. How are you going to, how would you hold them accountable and build team and communicate enough and, basically build trust and really kind of manage that project or person or group?
It's not complicated. We use tools like Slack. I have so many Slack teams, and we have Alejandro, who's brilliant at Asana, and Asana organizes everything. And obviously every tech tool that you can imagine for projects, you name it, we have it. And I think that's how you hold it together. And Slack, you can be conversing in real time. Like we speak to some folks in China, and it's 14 hours, time difference. So 7:00 our time, PM, then, it works out for them because it's morning time for them the next day.
I would add too, it's like, especially when you're creating something new, right? Which is so much harder than kind of branching off of something existing without that much change. It's like keeping the inertia going. It's so easy to like get going on a new product, a new business, new venture. And then, you just kind of like, especially when you're not together, where you get that natural human energy of like the actual people, keep making sure to keep the inertia going. And if that means if one person's sick, like, picking up the pieces and pushing it forward, then do it, because it's I've experienced it. We all have, where it's like that inertia dies and then it kind of fizzles out and you're just not able to get where you want to go, particularly when we're all isolated.
One productivity tip, one tip of something you do. You guys both get so much done, and yet you have time for relationships, people, health, all these other things. A productivity tip, either.
I mean, mine is related to the health, which is just put the good things in your body, like, so that you never have a stomach ache or any problems and you feel good. And like obviously the drinking water and, doing, every hour, what I do too, because I've got a big monitor, like a lot of us, you got to look away from your screen for 5 minutes. You got to do some breathing, or like do some push-ups, or do some wall sits. I don't know. It doesn't matter. Go on your tippy toes, try to touch the ceiling, whatever works. But like, you got to do something like that. And, maybe call your grandma and tell her you love her or something like that also helps.
For me, I think it's absolutely going outside. I get affected. I have if I'm not in the sun or have some kind of light, it's very detrimental. So I just got one of these seasonal affective disorder lamps, and I put them in my office. So if there's a really dark day, I can just pretend that I can look at that, and it makes me feel a little bit better. And then also for me, it's I changed to a whole food plant-based lifestyle 2 years ago. And enormous, no fog.
Tell us what's that look like? That whole food
plant-based lifestyle. I used to suffer, and this because I had it a lot when I initially met you. I had a lot of allergies. And so I always had allergies, and people were suggesting I do this or that, and then I had like stomach pains, and the doctors were telling me it was because I traveled to developing countries. Well, when I switched to a whole food plant-based lifestyle, I don't have much of any of that. And so what that means is that I eat whole foods, legumes, grains, rice, tons of vegetables, fruit, everything. I just don't eat any animal products. Meaning I don't drink things from your parents' farm. Or I don't drink
remember,
milk.
We're a crop farm, plant-based.
Well, that's good.
We didn't have. I did have to. I had some sheep growing up for 4-H to learn responsibility. But our farm, And by the way, 91 years old, mom and dad still run it, but that 1,500 acre farm, almost all what you just said, it was what we were most known for when I was growing up was dark red kidney beans.
That's great.
You talk about a bowl of chili or whatever. We'll take the meat out for you, and you can have a nice red kidney beans, navy beans. We had semi-loads of beans.
Amazing.
Yeah, and we had other things too, but those were the dry edibles. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's about so it's like people say, well, how do you do that? Don't you feel like bad, or do you miss something? No, I miss nothing because I feel fantastic.
Is that, and Alejandro, did you do that too? Do you feel full without the protein and eggs and bacon in the morning? I mean, what do you think?
Yeah, I was the one that got her to do it because I was like, hey, like, I like reading books and stuff like that of all the science. So I suggested to her, I was like, hey, I just started like eating this way like 3 months ago. You should try it. It might help you with XYZ. And it's funny now looking back at pictures of both of us from like 5 years ago, and we just kind of laugh.
Yeah. Well, if you're listening to the podcast instead of looking, you'll see some lean, mean leaders in front of us. And but you know what else? Just shining, glowing smiles, and you can just tell health, right? So I do have a challenge with putting a steak away once in a while, but I definitely, that changed me. Making sure I get 5 green vegetables a day. Make sure I've got almonds and fruit, and it's in this culture of come on over for cake and ice cream or come over for whatever. It's not always easy, and everybody knows I still like ice cream, but getting rid of most of certain things, even as this is the start. So love it. All right, here we go. It's time for the lightning round. We're going to give you each a chance, but it's going to be quick. All right. We could be on all day. It's been amazing already. If we go back, we've learned and thought about starting with gratitude, and every night maybe playing a fun video game and putting do not disturb on the phone, thinking about an Oura ring and having the bottle of water that you're going to want, functional strength. It's important to know how to make meals in 15 minutes, healthy ones, but that blender sure saves time and is one idea that people could think about. Divide your work. If you're going to be co-leaders, divide it absolutely clearly. Ask for help with gratitude. We started there. Treasure your friends and family. If I was going to say something about these guys, it is find a way. Find a way to get it done. Find a way to keep the commitment. You got to show up as a leader. Take time for your people. Have faith. Get outside. Number 1 productivity tip from this team, focus on your health. But let's go to the lightning round. It's time. Favorite book or resource right now?
Skin in the Game.
Skin in the Game. Give us a 30-second snapshot.
Same author as The Black Swan. Amazing analysis of how the economies in the global economies are affected by the lack of skin in the game.
Perfect.
And when they are, okay, good.
No, we'll get it. And we got it in the show notes. You'll just look for the show notes. You'll find everything about the Global Gaming Initiative. You'll find everything about their other company that could help you if you're a startup get started and get going faster. They've got the team to help you with everything from building the website to digital marketing to launching. And so is that still called Jukko, or are you changing the name?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we love it. Jukko. It's a community.
Yep. The Jukko community. That's an amazing resource. That'll be in the show notes at trustedleadershow.com. We'll also put some of these other ideas like skin in the game. All right, here we go, Alejandro. What say you? Favorite book or resource right now?
4 Agreements. Book by Don Miguel Ruiz, came out about 23 years ago or so. There's 4 agreements in life, and this helped me a lot actually this summer when, some things were challenging, but business, life, and the like. There's 4 agreements that I even have them as Post-its right next to my bed. First agreement is being impeccable with your word, something you talk a lot about, David. The second one is not taking anything personally. Because at the end of the day, all of us are individuals that live life through our own narrow perspective lens. And that's just what it is. It's not our fault. That's just how the brain operates. The third one, very crucial, not making assumptions. coming in and including not making assumptions about yourself, the most important one. And fourth, always trying your best. Always trying your best, but not over trying, because if you over try, it's just a negative marginal effect. And so trying your best, but you can't go overboard. It doesn't do you any good.
Very, very, very powerful. I read it about, I would say, a decade ago, but I think this reminds me and think, yes. All these things you want to read again, right? And just be reminded of. Perfect. Hey, something either of you can't live without.
For me, it's definitely nature, going to nature. Figuring out, if you live in a city, figure out the park. I lived in New York for 3 years, going to the little park nearby, just being around trees or whatever you got is a big one, and definitely can't live without it.
I can't live without music. I need music. And when my music doesn't work, I'm really upset.
What's your favorite right now?
My favorite music?
Yeah.
That's easy. Colombian music. I like Juanes, all the Latin American singers.
Love it. Best advice or favorite quote in one line?
Don't let anyone take away your joy.
When the best leaders' work is done, they will say, we did it ourselves.
Yes, others will say.
They.
Yes.
Yes.
I'm going to get that clear so everybody understands. It's not they'll say about themselves, they did it themselves. When the best leader does it, the others will say, hey, we did this, right? Yep. Yes. Love it. Okay. One thing left on your bucket list. Elizabeth, your bucket list, you've done so many things already, but quickly, one thing left on the bucket list of Elizabeth and then Alejandro.
Sorry, Dave. I can't think of anything other than, I can't think of anything left on my bucket list other than, I guess for me, it'll be to become a grandmother.
There you go. All right.
Well, I want to be a grandma.
I was just talking to a leader I respect so much. He's an incredibly successful guy. And, I was talking about my teenagers and some of the challenges. I'm like, I talk about trust and I'm still like, I got to do this thing. He said, don't worry. You know what? Grandkids are just so much more fun and they're coming. Just talking to him yesterday. But I love my kids. Everybody knows that. And they're amazing. But I do look forward to the less responsibility, that might bring in the enjoyment of what I hear grandkids are about. Alejandro, what say you?
Big one for me is doing a really intense, trekking expedition. It could be through Chile, Bolivia, all that area, the mountains of the Andes. I want to go to Antarctica at some point, go to the Amazon rainforest. Those kinds of things.
You've got time, and I will not doubt that you'll do all three and more. So, well, this has been a great episode, and what a treat to talk to my friends, Elizabeth and Alejandro. And where can we find out more? Where's the best place to find out more about you?
You could just go to elizabethsarquis.com and schedule a call with me, whatever you need. I'm so happy to help you. And, you can go to any of our business sites as well, Global Gaming Initiative or Jukko.
And we'll put them all in the show notes. Kent will take care of that if he hasn't already, but that'll be fun. Anywhere else, Alejandro?
I'm young, so you can always Instagram DM me. My name is exactly my first and last name. So obviously it's always acceptable.
Alejandro,
me, I won't respond.
Exactly, me either. Alejandro Fenn, Fenn, wonderful. We've got a whole lot of takeaways. We talk about them. We got some new ones here. Don't let anyone take away your joy. Maybe read Skin in the Game or Four Agreements. But what an inspiring duo, I think, mostly because they're passionate about changing the world for good. And we talk about in our work a lot because I'm on stage 100 times a year maybe, being the same on stage and off stage. And I know you and you live it out with family and with friends, and I'm grateful to call you a friend. So, and friends, grateful to call you friends. And so grateful. This has been the Trusted Leader Show. It has been a treat. Thank you, Elizabeth. Thank you, Alejandro. Until next time, stay trusted.